What's up? What's up? It's time for Done Way Past Funny with your host, G.D. Fenderson. Join us as we take a look back at the early works of seasoned comedians before they were seasoned with this week's guest, Allison Dyen. It's time to get down and get dope with Done Way Past Funny. Hi, I'm G.D. Fenderson, certified forensic humorist. Welcome to Done Way Past Funny, where we look at the works of comedians and we discuss the work of comedians. And I just screwed up my introduction because I looked away from the paper, and I'm sorry. I'm gonna do this again, but I'm not gonna edit it out because I'm a real person. Here we go. Darn it, dag nabbit. All right. Yeah, I'm gonna edit it anyway. Screw it. Damn it. I'm so sorry. Here we go. Hi, welcome to Done Way Past Funny. I'm your host, G.D. Fenderson, certified forensic humorist at large, but I'm losing weight. Here with me today is my special guest, comedian and actress, Allison Dyen. I'm sorry. Damn it. Allison Dyen. I am so sorry, Allison. I'm sure you've had people mess up your name worse than that.
Oh, yeah, my name is odd. I don't expect anyone to get my name right most of the time.
It's funny because I know it's Dyen, but when I read it, it for some reason, even though it's Dyen, Dye, Dyen. Okay, and then your even your comedy thing is called Dyen for laughs. It makes sense. But my brain, for some reason, just with all that extra information that I know about you, I still screwed it up.
People still think my company is called Dean for laughs.
Which doesn't make sense.
It makes no sense. I thought that would help people understand the pronunciation, so it's an odd name.
Which is why it's embarrassing. And not only that, I've talked to you. I think we probably have now talked like 3 or 4 hours total, and I'm still screwing it up. Which is why, and that's what made it even worse there, because I thought I could fix it, and I was just getting worse at it. And I apologize.
No, you did great. You did great.
Not to you, to the audience. I'm just saying, because well, I'm going to be. I'm going to have you introduce yourself. Tell the audience a little bit about yourself, how long you've been doing comedy, where you're doing it from, how they can stalk you, stuff like that.
Sure. So I have been doing comedy for about 6 years now. I started out in Los Angeles, did stand up, mostly open mics, bar shows, things like that, until I moved back to Massachusetts in 2018. And I have been doing stand up in the New England area and booking and producing my own comedy shows. I am also a regular on the Paul Santos Live show, which is a local late night style variety show that we film out of New Bedford, Massachusetts.
All right, cool. And it's at the bottom here where it says at Allison Dyen,
Yep.
which is for Instagram and Facebook, or
Yep, people can find me on Instagram and Facebook at Allison Dyen. And on Facebook, they can also find my company under at Dyen for Laughs.
All right, and for those of you who can read, it's at the bottom. You don't have to remember. And for those of you who can't read, it's at the bottom. Have somebody read it for you. So, the FYI, for those of you out there, like I said, Allison and I have talked before on another show, Coffee with the Dog, and we also talked for about an hour or so, I think, when we were talking about preparing for Done Way Past Funny. And in that hour, I was afraid that we talked so much and I enjoyed it so much that it was like we're going to run out of stuff to talk about. But one of the things I want to talk about right off the bat is based on what we did before. When we were talking on the phone, I was talking about my mom, and we was talking about that material and how it's kind of that my mom had. For those of you who don't pay attention to anything I've said in the past, my mother was raped in the 1950s by my father. And so my thing is I wanted to make it kind of tell her story and not make it so painful, but a little bit, when we were talking about it, it came off very entertaining. So I tried it 2 days later, but I didn't write anything down that we did, and I couldn't duplicate the same energy that I had with you on the phone, and it was, and I could see it was like, okay, this is not going well. Let's change up
Well,
because
it's
I could.
different in a conversation probably than when you're on a stage. The energy is different, and the
And,
feedback you get is more intimate. In a conversation.
and I was right. I was doing really well. I was writing right along, and it just seemed like a perfect transition. And I was like, okay, here we go. And what's it's not the audience. The audience didn't change. I think I changed. Oh man. So anybody see football last week? I just felt I'm sure it was not as bad as that because I watched the video, but the sinking feeling I had in my heart when I lost the momentum in my heart. I just chickened out.
I know that feeling
Yeah.
for sure. That happens to me on a regular basis.
So what happened? Okay. Because one of the things, and we'll see that in a bit. But actually, you don't chicken out in a bit, but I'm saying there's like places in a bit where you could have chickened out. Like when you do your comedy, is there something like if your husband's in the audience, does that make you a little bit more nervous or less nervous?
No, no, not at all. He's very supportive. He's down with anything. I make fun of him all the time. That's a good chunk of my comedy is making fun of my family. Um, and he supports anything that gets a laugh, and I think it makes him
Oh.
feel like the star of the show. He likes the attention no matter what.
Oh, okay. So even if you did like exaggerate something and someone will walk up to him after the show, I don't know his name. I was going to say Richard, but that's somebody else's name. I'm about
Oh,
to
it's
give you
Randy.
somebody
You
else.
were close.
What is
You were close. It's Randy.
Randy? Okay, I was about to give you somebody else's husband. And I mean, they may want you to have them, but I'm just saying. So Randy, somebody may come up to Randy after the show like, Randy, oh come on, man, that's really funny. So are you still bickering with your mother-in-law, or whatever it is? And even if it's not, he'd be like, yeah, yeah, and so he's like that. He just goes along with it no matter what it is.
Oh yeah, he goes along with it for
That's
sure.
cool. That's
I
cool.
chicken out more. I chicken out more talking about anything that's not specific to me.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm talking about myself and my family, I don't chicken out at all because nobody has an opinion of that really other than me. I'm giving them all the information that they know.
Right, right.
But when I talk about just a general topic, like if I were to talk about a famous person or something political or something regarding feminism, those types of things I get more nervous about because I know people have preconceived notions or opinions on those topics.
Right, right. That actually makes a lot of sense, and I should be braver when I'm talking about myself. It's so stupid. I have a thing. I actually have a line in one of my opening things is that the audience doesn't know your material. So if you make a mistake, just lean into it. I say that. That is like I say that I actually say that in the opening, and I still chicken out. It's like something happened, and I don't know if I made contact with somebody's eyes and it looked like my mother's eyes going like, shame. I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened. It's just all of a sudden it was like my brain just went into like shutdown mode. It's like abort, bad joke, bad jokes. No, it's not a bad joke. Bad joke. Bad joke. I'm telling you right now, it's a bad joke. It was good last week. It's not good now. Stop. I don't know. So
I have to tell you about the time I host an open mic,
right.
and I once had my mother co-host the mic with me, and it was hilarious. I wrote her jokes
Okay.
for her. Like we wrote them together, but she was so cute with her little 3x5 cards, and everybody knew my mom. My mom's now passed away, but everybody knew, my mom from coming to all my mics and coming to all my shows. So
Yeah.
they got a huge kick out of her. And there was there's one of my jokes, when I say the word pussy, and I was like, Ma, you don't have to say it. Because she was sort of like the whole bit was her reacting to my jokes and telling people that like what I'm saying is not true. That was like her whole shtick, right?
Right.
And I say, you don't have to say the word pussy if you don't want to. And she goes, no, I want to say the word pussy. Forget that. And people got just such a kick out of my mother saying that word. She didn't really have to do anything.
And the funny one of the things is I'm willing to bet that if she was not your mother, but just another comedian, just literally, if your mother went up there as a comedian without being your mother, did the same material, it wouldn't have had the same impact. We'd be like, oh, she's just saying pussy. But the fact that she's your mother saying it, it would be like, you could never get my mom to do that.
The joke was something like in reference to me being short. I said I did it around St. Patrick's Day, and it was something like I think I'm like a leprechaun because I like wearing green, I love collecting coins, and my pussy is magically delicious. And my mom's joke, like when she co-hosted, was her like saying that you get from me. Like you get all these other things from your father, but that's
me. Yeah.
She did great. It was hilarious.
I was hosting at a show, and one of the comedians was a friend of mine, a really funny young man. He's and he couldn't make the show. He couldn't make it, and so we were on the phone just before the show, and he goes, "I'm really sorry because I really wanted to be there," and he goes, "And I really had some new material I wanted to try out. I want to see how the audience was going to react to it. I was really looking forward to that." I said, "Well, I'll tell you what." I said, "If you tell me the jokes that you want to work on, I will write them down and have somebody from the audience read them to the audience." And he goes, "You'll do that?" I said, "Sure." So he told me the jokes. I wrote them down. I said verbatim the way he wants them done. And there was a bachelorette party in the audience. So I had the bachelorette, the bachelorette of honor, the major, whatever it is, of honor.
Yeah, the bride to be.
Yeah, the bride, her come up. And I said, "Here's the deal. Just read it just like it is." I said, "I'll let you practice it to yourself first while I talk. And then when you're ready, when you're ready, you do the joke just like it's written. Don't change your words, okay? Just okay, fine." And we're recording it just so that the comedian knows how the jokes work. She was okay, and it was great. The audience liked it. She liked it. He got somebody else to say his jokes before he got to, because it didn't work. It's like, well, he didn't fail. It was like,
right.
But he gets to hear,
And she wouldn't care because she didn't write them.
Right. She's just
That's
reading.
actually brilliant.
Thank you. That's it. Yeah,
it's a brilliant way to try your material. I love that.
Yeah. So I just, and that's what made me think when you had your mother co-hosting and she was doing the jokes that you wrote. It's like, oh yeah, yes, I did with my buddy. It's like, it was so funny. So let's see here. The thing you do, first of all, I mentioned that you were, I said you're an actress. Now I'm saying that because even though you technically aren't an actress right now, you're doing comedy. Mm-hmm. I'm pretty sure that for the right amount of money, you could be coaxed into acting again.
Oh yeah, I would act again if somebody wanted me to do something. I would absolutely do it. I would recommend to them that they make me audition to make sure. Yeah, I would. I would still do it. I didn't give up acting, because I didn't like it.
Right.
I really gave up acting more because I don't think it's what I do best. I don't think it's the best showcase for me at all. And also I started acting when I was older. So the competition, I couldn't compete with people that have been doing that have been acting for that long. I didn't have that
Yeah.
much of a natural ability
Right.
to act, to skip the line. You know what
Right.
I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. I understand.
Keep
Yeah.
ahead of people that have been doing it for a really long time. And the stand-up, I think, comes a little bit more natural to me, and I think I'm better at it. But I would act if someone, wanted me to.
Yeah. So that's why I still said the act. That's why I still said actress, because it's like, okay, I know. Yeah, for the right amount of money, you should do it. It's like we could pitch a product right now. Like I was about to say, you can grab a product like right now and say, see, I would be a perfect spokesperson for this Monistat 7, whatever it is that you got over there. It's like perfect. It's just like that. I'd be
That's
perfect.
perfect.
Yeah, yeah,
I could do
right.
Monistat 7. I could do yogurt. I could do like
Yeah,
Activia.
yeah, yeah. Just reach over and just do it. Yeah, I can do it. So if you're out there, someone out there, and or even if you need someone to just hold a dish from your restaurant and go, this coffee at so and so's coffee is the best coffee, locally grown in Boston. Yes,
You can't see my hands, but
yes, yes, locally grown coffee, locally grown in Boston here, just with the great coffee weather that we have in Boston.
oh yeah.
Now, LA, you did comedy in LA and you're doing it in Boston. So
Yeah.
the differences between the two coasts.
Yeah. Well, LA for me feels like it was a lot tougher, but I don't know if it's because that's where I first started.
Okay,
So
yeah,
I was I didn't really kind of know how to find good open mics. I wasn't as good at networking, and I wasn't as good at doing stand up.
okay,
So everything about LA kind of feels harder. But looking back on it, I think the good thing about Los Angeles is that there's a lot of opportunities. Comedy is kind of ubiquitous out there. So there's a lot of
right,
clubs, there's a lot of mics, there's a lot of independent shows. So lots of opportunities and different groups of people to work with, which is great. They have mics pretty much seven nights a week there. The other thing I liked about LA is that a lot of the clubs there have audition nights. So you can go do 3 minutes, audition, you get passed or you don't. And if you don't get passed, you usually can come back in about 6 months and try it again.
right,
Whereas in Boston, the sort of way to get into a club is not really as clear cut. They don't really have audition nights, where you can
right,
just go and like try to get past. It's more networking, starting out in independent shows and networking, and then eventually someone inviting you, to a club show that they're hosting, and then
right,
kind of that way.
right.
But I like the Boston scene because it's smaller, it's kind of easier to get to know everybody in it. And I feel like it's sort of like, I know we're not out west, like California is the west, but I feel like
Right.
this is more like the Wild West. It's kind of like everybody can have a show. Everybody can produce shows if they want. You can get really good headlining comics to be on your independent shows. So
Oh,
I feel
cool.
like you can get farther here without having the industry behind you. You know what I mean?
Right.
You
Yeah.
can do it on
Yeah.
your own more here.
Yeah. I understand that. That makes perfect sense. I know I started in Florida, but the area where I started, there was not a lot of comedians. Or if they were, they weren't funny enough to be called comedians.
Mm.
I'm not sure, but so I started out there, and once I moved to the Maryland area, where there's like you can't swing a dead cat without somebody who's a comedian or thinking, it's, and I said to my wife, I said, there's no way I'm going to make it in the Maryland, DC, Virginia area. But there's no way. There's just too many comedians. I'd have to, because there's nothing I can do to stand out, you know. And there really isn't, except, I just work on my craft and just try to be good at it. But there's
Right.
still a lot of good comedians out here. But there's a whole lot more who are not good, but they network so much better than I do.
Yeah, I feel like there's just people with different skill sets. Some people are good at networking. Some people, are good at stand up. I think that in Boston, and I'm sure this is true for everywhere. It's just the person who gave me this advice is in the Boston scene.
Right.
And they told me that what seasoned comedians don't like is what they call the 1 day a week warrior, the person who goes out and just does one open mic a week and they kind of expect things to happen. They prefer people who are out there hitting mics, doing as much shows as they can, working on their craft, and they know that that person will eventually get better. And so because of that, they respect that,
Right.
and they see that, and then you're more likely to get, more stage time that way. So that's sort of like what the advice that I went with. I'm just going to go out there and I'm going to get on stage as much as I can. And the networking doesn't come as naturally to me. I
Yeah.
kind of force myself to do it. But that's kind of what I do. And eventually it works. People see you showing up every day and then they kind of like let you in.
Now, but in producing your own shows, what prompted you to do that? I mean, I know what prompted me to do it, but what prompted you to start producing your own shows?
A lot of it was that there's kind of two reasons. The first reason is that the first time I booked a show, I was hired to book a show for somebody else.
Okay.
And I put together a lineup that I thought was really good. And he then added a bunch of comics to that lineup. And I wasn't happy with that.
Okay.
And then we did the show, though, and it went fine. It actually was a sold out show. And then he wanted me to help him book other shows. But the same issue kept happening where I'd put together a lineup and then he never bumped any people that I put on, but like he would always add people. And I'm like, you know what?
But that meant the people that you put on got less time then, I guess.
Yeah, they got less time. Some people don't like doing 40 minutes after, 8 people have already gone up.
Right. Yeah.
So there's all kinds of dynamics at play. So I was like, you know what? These were his visions for the shows, not my vision. I'm like, you know what? I have visions for the shows I want to do. So I'm going to go out and do them.
Right.
And then the other motivation for that was that there were comics that I really wanted to work with. And I thought, okay, well, if I want to work with them and I'm producing a show, I can, ask them if they want to be on my show. And then
That's
I can
cool.
get to work with them. And so those, that's really the motivation for me for doing it. And, luckily I've been kind of blessed with working with people that have been, very nice and generous to me, that say that they enjoy working with me. And then other comics then reach out because they want to, work with me. So, it has a lot of benefits producing your own shows. I definitely recommend it.
Now, who who were the influences comedically for you?
Chris Rock's my number one.
Okay.
Chris Rock. Gary Shandling. I like Gary Shandling a lot, and Joan Rivers. I'd say those three. They're very different, but those three.
I will say, and Gary Shandling is maybe, this is going to sound crazy, but maybe the least known of the three. And I'm saying that in a strange way because he was like big shit,
Yeah.
Yes, he was big shit, and he was funny. And I think, but the thing is, his style was so understated it is like so self-deprecating, and people don't realize how funny he was.
Yeah, he wasn't that big personality like
Right.
Joan Rivers. It was that
Yeah.
big personality.
Yeah. Chris Rock, Joan Rivers, big. Gary Sanders, like, don't notice me. I'm just funny. I'm just putting on a show. I just had my own TV show for, my own TV show success, and I'm going to say successful in the sense that they were well produced, well done, and I guess they lasted as long as he wanted them to last, which is all you can ask.
Yeah.
They run for how many years, and you can finish on your own terms, and not like it's like 2 years, like, oh, you're done. It's like, oh, but I got so much more material, as opposed to 2 years and this is all the material I have. I'm done. No.
Yeah. I find him, when I listen to Gary Shandling, it makes me feel just relaxed and happy. Like his vibe is just like this, like I'm gonna sit here and I'm gonna enjoy you talking to me. It's all like being with a friend, kind
Yeah,
of,
yeah,
and less of like a show, like when I would hear him, do stand up. And of all three of them, I think personally I relate to his material the most.
yeah.
Probably because it's more,
I think it's more
less
human.
extreme.
Yeah, it's more to me. It's more human. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, it's more human.
yeah,
It's like sometimes like Chris Rock, he does material that I mean he's funny, but sometimes he just does stuff that's like, okay, he had to exaggerate that to make it funny because if he told it the real way, it wouldn't have been funny. But it's like Gary, and Joan Rivers would be like, oh, oh, girl, can we talk? Oh, oh, it's just her style. She says like, oh, I can smell. Can we talk? I smelled her pussy for half a block away, way before I said. It's like that's not true, but it's the way she delivers it. The Gary Sanders, like he's like it's almost like I'm just gonna tell it like it is, even if he doesn't. It just seems like that's what happened. He's
yeah.
just very
It
good.
feels like everything he says is real.
Yeah, yeah. Even if it isn't, it just feels real. You know, like yeah. So he's a good one. He's really good. I'm not giving you my stamp of approval. It's like, oh yeah, I approve of that one. The other two, no. And I'm just saying, yeah, But it's just he's like he doesn't get mentioned often, and I'm just saying I don't. And yeah, it's
Yeah, people should watch the documentary Judd Apatow made for
yes,
HBO.
yes, yeah,
Yeah, people should definitely check that out because it gives you real insight into his thought process, which was
yeah,
fascinating.
yeah,
To me as a comedian, just really fascinating, and to know that you know he had the same insecurities that all of us have about
yeah.
if we're funny and if we're getting more funny, if we're getting less funny,
Yeah.
all that stuff. It was really, really interesting.
Okay, now I'm going to assume that since you and Randy are married, occasionally you've had a disagreement or an argument or two. I'm just going to assume that. I don't know if it's true. I just want to believe that in the universe of relationships, everybody has an argument.
Oh
Okay,
yeah.
so have you ever been like in the middle of an argument with Randy, and while the argument is happening, you're thinking, oh, this is gonna be funny. This is gonna be really funny when I tell. And if that happens, how do you hold on to the joke? Because if you mess up, you stop and say, wait, Randy, can you hold that rage just for a second? I need to write this down so I don't forget any of it. Just hold the rage. No, right there, right? Yeah, beautiful. You right there. Hold that. Let me get there. What did you just? Now, what was the thing? The last thing you just said? What you call me? What was it? Because that was so funny. I'd never even put those two species together. What was it? Okay, monkey, bat. Okay, here we go. Or do you let the argument finish and okay, try to remember? Go to the next room and says, Randy, you're right. I'm sorry. And go to the next room and it's like, okay, I had to apologize just to get him out of there and start writing. So, what's your method? How do you handle it?
Oh, when I'm in a fight, there's no stopping it. I'm just gonna keep fighting. It's like I'll think about it later. Every once in a while, we'll have a fight, and he'll make a joke because my husband's actually pretty funny too. So
Okay.
he'll make a joke, or I'll make a joke, and then we both start laughing, and then the fight just kind of ends. And then I'll start, like we'll kind of write a bit together almost. Like, oh my God, like I'm talking about this on stage. But yeah, other times we just fight, have it out, and then later on when I'm thinking of material, I'll be like, oh yeah. I bet you other people have had that fight. We're gonna talk about that fight.
Yeah, I'm off of it because I think the first time I thought of that, the first time that question popped into my head was I was watching, I think with my stepdaughter. My stepdaughter used to like to watch Friends. I was not a Friends fan, but my stepdaughter loved to watch Friends. And this was at the time when Brad Pitt was dating uh,
Jennifer Aniston.
Jennifer Aniston. And I thought to myself, I wonder if she's ever had like an argument with him and it was like just like one of the sketches, like it's just like they're having a sketch argument, but it's in real life. It's like the same argument she had with Ross, but she's actually having it for real with Brad Pitt. And does she want to think, well, I use this punchline on Ross. I wonder if I use it. Can I diffuse this argument with the same way with Brad as I just did with Ross? And that was the first time that question ever popped into my head. And then it does like different variations depending on the situations. you know.
Yeah, I mean, I know for Everyone Loves Raymond that's true. Like for the in like the writers' room,
Right.
most of
Okay.
those fights were real fights that they've had with their spouses that went
Oh
on
yeah.
the show. But I do remember watching a documentary about Friends. This was a while ago, where one of the actors said that it seemed like the writers knew what was going on in their personal lives and what they would talk about because they'd get the scripts and they'd be like, "Are they listening into our conversations? Like, how is it?" So I do think that um, it probably did filter in. I don't know specifically about her and Brad, but I'm
Yeah. Do you have
sure.
a number? Can you call her and ask her?
No, you know what? I try to call. She never picks up my calls. She won't get back to me.
Yeah, I had Brad's number in my flip phone, but you know how flip phones are, they're just so sensitive. It just became archaic, and all of my numbers with all of my active friends are like in my flip phone. I can't I can't even turn it on anymore because I can't even find a charger that fits it so I can turn it on, you know. Yeah. So I feel you, girl. I feel you.
I'll get the dirt. I'll contact Angelina Jolie. We'll
Oh
get the
yeah.
dirt on
Oh
Brad.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I forgot about the bank shot. We could have tried it that way. Yeah, we could just the bank shot. Hi, I'm GD Fenderson, certified forensic humorist and host of Done Way Past Funny. You have just watched part one of our interview with comedian and actress Allison Dyen. Please join us as we continue our interview, and when you come back to join us, bring a friend.